Hey friends! So today's topic is going to be about gel and transitioning on gel testosterone, my experiences of that. Yeah, so let's crack on. I know this video is going to be early because I realised I'm going to be really busy on Wednesday actually, so I don't have time. So anyway, gel. So I've been on gel for 4.5 years, actually nearly 5. Okay, 4 3/4. So I started in July. I can't even remember whenever, nearly 5 years ago it is. July 2013, must have been. Yeah, it's July 2013 I started on gel. I have only ever used gel for my transition. I've never used injectables. I was given the option of both and I opted to go with the gel. The main reason I opted to go with the gel is I felt it would be better for my mental health at the time. So I was still recovering from a lot of like mental health stuff and like horrible depression and anxiety and things. So I decided that gel would probably be better because it's I say a lower dose. It's a smaller dose daily, so it's much more kind of stable, and you don't really get the peaks and troughs that you might do with and or that you certainly can do with injectables. Also, at the time, I just didn't want to take time out all the time to go to a doctor or to get a nurse to kind of inject me all the time. It would have been a pain, and it still would be a pain. So lifestyle wise, it doesn't suit me too well. Um, Also, the other reason that I wanted to kind of go on gel, and I'll touch on this a little bit in a sec, is because at the time there was not as much information about gel out there, and lots of misinformation about the fact that it would take less time, it would be slower, and it wouldn't work as quickly. And at that point, I was still with somebody, and I thought, oh yeah, maybe it'll be better for my own kind of sanity for this to go fast, to go slower, and to feel like I've got more control over it. And it'll be slower for my partner and give them time to get used to it, and etc. So those were the reasons why I thought, oh, go on gel. Now, as it turns out, this whole thing about gel takes less time or gel is slower is nonsense. And I kind of realised that actually the reason why there's this information is kind of floating around is because in the US, which is a huge chunk of the trans community is in the US just by volume of population, and especially online. And in the US, getting a lot of insurance companies either won't cover gel, or if they do, like it's obviously a larger copay, or you just have to get it privately. And for the brand that I started on, which is Testim, it was like $300 a month at the time. So a lot of Americans go with IM because it's cheaper. And I think that's partly what started this kind of thing of this kind of rumor, this myth that gel just doesn't work as quickly, it's not as effective. And for my personal thing, I can totally tell you that's bogus. It's total nonsense. So the way my timeline worked out is within like a couple of weeks, my voice started to feel scratchy. And by week 3 or 4, like I started to sound like I had a cold. And I could feel my voice kind of starting to, my vocal cords kind of starting to thicken up. And I was getting that kind of sore throat thing that you get when your voice drops and that sort of stuff. So that all that started happening. And I also noticed really early on things like getting hungrier, my body temperature running hotter, what else? Getting hornier, definitely. And the other thing I noticed as well for the first kind of couple of weeks, I think for maybe the first month, wherever I was applying it, my muscles would feel like they were aching a little bit. Not a lot, but just a little bit. And that's probably just because everything was starting to grow. My muscles were kind of going, oh wow, I can bulk up now, because I had basically no kind of muscle beyond kind of the basics that your skeleton needs to move. I don't really have any kind of built up muscle or anything, so I think it was just my muscles kind of building and bulking up. And also, the other thing I noticed was that when I wasn't feeling more energetic, I was feeling incredibly tired, and I was sleeping a lot more. And now I kind of think, God, yeah, this is why I slept so much as a teenager, because like your body is changing and going through puberty. That's hard work. That's tiring. And then for me personally, I noticed that the fatigue started getting a bit worse, and that's when I went back to my doctor and I said, what's going on? And I was also having a really bad bout of SAD at the time. And normally when you start testosterone, that doesn't happen because you get that burst of energy. You kind of just feel a bit more cheerful for a lot of people. I think you either get cheerful or you become a bit aggressive. It's kind of like one of the two. I just got depressed because I had seasonal affective disorder. And I mentioned the fact that I was really tired. So they did a vitamin D test on me, and I was really deficient. So I had to start taking a supplement, and that really helped. So if you do find you've got some ongoing fatigue, definitely get your vitamin D levels checked. I think that's kind of important. It should be reasonably standard anyway, but get it checked out because it could be you've got a deficiency. Anyway, so yeah, and then also in the next couple of months, I got like clitoral growth. Again, how big you get there is down to genetics and how much DHT your body converts, and because that gets used up for that, and also beard growth, but it does mean you go bald, so you can get big cock and a big beard, but you got no hair, so can't win everything. Anyway, I digress. So I got like clitoral growth and things. I got facial hair starting to come in, like little kind of blonde, kind of like little milk hairs starting to come in. So I started getting all of that. Definitely within the first year. And yeah, my voice really started to drop really quickly. Actually, you go to, like, I mean, it is cliche, but like you go to bed one night and you wake up the next day and your voice has kind of dropped a little bit more, and you're just like, shit, what's happening? So that all happened like within the first year. So and at the time I didn't know many people who were on gel, and certainly most of my friends were on intermuscular, and there were one or two people who kind of started T around about the same kind of time as me. One guy I knew was started a couple of months before, and I was getting changes faster than him, and that's just genetics. Honestly, there's really, like, I think this other kind of, people think, oh, gel doesn't work as quickly because they think, oh, you're not getting as much in your body or whatever, but actually no, you get like just as much, and it's really important to get your levels checked, because you're free, as long as your free testosterone's in the right range, you should get changes. And if you don't, then there might be some other funny business going on. So get that checked out. But yeah, if you're within a happy range, and I think in the UK it's anywhere between 250 nmol to like 950. I know in the US it's something like 300 to 1050, and your mileage may vary depending on which country you live in. You'll know your guidelines, but as long as you're within that happy range, particularly if you're right in the mid range, you'll get changes. Mine sits usually between high 400s and low 500s, and like bam, I got a beard, so I still can't grow much on the sides, like it's a bit, but there's a big old patch here that doesn't grow, and then it's a bit more full here, but that's nothing I can do about that. I just hope that it'll grow in more in the next few years. Beards can take up to 10 years to really grow in and grow thick. So that is regardless of whatever method you use. The other reason, I don't know what I was going to say. I hate when that happens. Anyway, yeah. So and then in the next kind of, in the sort of following years, I noticed like body shape changes, and fat redistribution. I got tissue atrophy on my chest. That happened more. I mean, that was happening anyway, but because of binding, but it happened faster. Because obviously my body's metabolizing more of that fat, and I'm getting just atrophy. It took probably up to about year 3 before I started really noticing any like chest hair, and my hair there is still reasonably fine. I don't get huge amounts there, and most of what I do get is on my belly, which I can show you, I guess. Yeah, so not loads, but I mean, there, I'm turning into an otter. And I've got like hairy shoulders and upper arms and all kinds of things. So so for anybody that thinks that tea doesn't work, it totally does. If you want something that's a bit more simple and more control, the advantages for me, I think, is the blood work is simpler because you don't need peak and trough blood work done. It's just one lot, you're done. Because it's because it stays kind of like really stable. It's you don't need that kind of peak and trough work done. You have a lot of control over it. If you don't want to take it every day, you don't have to. If you skip a day, you can. That's fine. I notice I can skip a day kind of reasonably comfortably before I start to feel it. If I skip 2 days, I start to feel it. I feel more tired, but it's really rare that I skip any days now. What else? Like the gel I use is not very sticky. I use something called Tostran. I was on testing for the first sort of 4 years, but then the great gel shortage happened, and that was kind of a pain. They put everybody on Tostran, but as a gel, it works really well. I can do reviews on testing and compare them, and if anybody wants to see that. So overall, my experience of gel is really very positive. I have absolutely no plans to change it. I will stay with gel forever and ever until I can't, unless something happens where I can't, or I develop a skin sensitivity maybe, or I'm down with that gel forever. Basically, I'm very happy to apply that every day. It takes 2 seconds to put on, and you let it sit for a little while. It's done. It's dead easy. I'm really happy with gel. I said sound like this, look like this. I'm nearly 5 years in. It's it's a perfectly viable option. It's great if you have a needle phobia. It's great if you don't have time to take out to go to your doctors, or you see a nurse to get an injection done, and all that kind of stuff. So it's great if you maybe are less able-bodied and you're not able to self-inject. If you got arthritis or something like that in your hands, it's a really good option for that. So there are lots of pros to gel. There are some cons as well. Obviously, things like you've got to be careful about skin-to-skin contact with women and children. So if you've got kids, or you're straight, for example, you've got a girlfriend, keep that in mind. You can work around it. It's absolutely doable to work around. But yeah, it might be a pain for some people. Sometimes, the drying time can be a barrier for some people. Some people don't like applying, just the fact that they've got to apply it every day. That can be a disadvantage for some people. So there are pros and cons. Again, if you live in the US, cost could be a con. I know that gel can be more expensive to get, either just to get outright, or to get a few co-pays if you've got insurance that covers it. Some insurance companies, I think, don't fully cover it, whereas they do with injectables. So those are the pros and cons I can think of off the top of my head. So that's it. So that's everything I can think of about gel. If anyone's got any questions, if I didn't cover anything or something that I didn't think of and you want to know or ask me, then leave me a comment or a question. Other than that, I really hope you found this useful, and I will speak to you all again soon. Draw a bit.